As a daydreamer, the movie The Secret Life of Walter Mitty spoke to me in ways that I could never imagine. The movie is about, well, a man named Walter Mitty, a Life magazine employee who devotes his life to his job and often lives in his head. A missing negative meant for the cover of the last issue of Life magazine before its closure forces Walter Mitty to live out his daydreams and go on an epic adventure that is both noteworthy and mentionable. Released in 2013, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is directed and starred by Ben Stiller, along with Kristen Wiig, Adam Scott, and Sean Penn. It is an adventure comedy drama that's bound to fit the inner adventurer in you and bring it out to life. In this film analysis, we're going to take a closer look at two film crafts of why I think this movie is great. Often we don't have to use words to describe a person, especially in movies. The visuals feed us what we need to know about a character. When we are first introduced to Walter, we see him alone in his apartment. From his clean apartment to his carefully arranged bookshelves, we can tell that Walter is a character that keeps things in order. He is also enclosed within his space by his surrounding, giving off a sense of being trapped. This reflects Walter's character as he is trapped within his own daydream and living only in his head. Details like putting a napkin under his cereal bowl and his neat handwriting updating his passbook gives a sense of neatness. His clean appearance itself lets us know that he is an orderly person. However, this clean and neat surrounding also gives us a sense of loneliness. In this shot, we see him leaving his apartment and walking along an empty corridor devoid of life and character. Even his apartment building itself is structured in an orderly fashion. At the beginning of the movie, he is often surrounded by straight lines. This in a way shows us that Walter follows a mundane routine of going to work, get the job done, and get home. It isn't until later in the movie we see Walter surrounded with uneven lines and shapes, letting us know that his mundane routine is now disrupted. This brings us to the colors that we see. Walter is mostly drowned in greys and dull colors in the beginning. Even his clothing is devoid of colors that would make him stand out. This color palette makes Walter blend in with the background, making him insignificant and the same as everyone else. But although he blends in, he kind of doesn't in a way. When he's walking with the crowd, we can clearly see him walking slower than the rest. And when he's waiting for the train, he is the only person sitting down while the people around him are standing. This further isolates him from his surrounding. Walter's only striking factor are his blue eyes, which gives a sense that this lonely man is still in search of that adventure he yearns. The only other time the colors around him are more prominent is when he is in his daydream sequence. When Walter comes back to reality, the colors goes back to its dull hue. The first time a character is introduced not wearing dark dull colors is when we meet his sister Odessa. Immediately, we can tell that Walter and Odessa are complete opposite from each other. While Walter leads a dull, work-driven, mundane life, Odessa is more out there and living her life by taking chances. Of course, as the movie progresses, the colors became more obvious. In this scene, after he was rescued from the ocean, we see Walter wearing colors for the first time. This shows his change from a rigid, boring, tie-wearing worker to someone who is becoming more of his inner adventurous self. When we think cinematography, we think stunning visuals, framings, etc. etc. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty doesn't fall short of visuals that makes you want to jump into your screen. But what stood out the most to me is how our main character Walter is framed. He is often framed alone with little to no interaction with the people or his surroundings. This isolates him from others around him and gives off the impression that he lives in his own world and of course solidifying his character as a lonely person. Comparing these earlier shots to those later in the movie, where Walter goes on his adventure, we can see a vast difference. While still following the rule of thirds aspect, Walter no longer feels confined to his space. Where earlier in the movie we see him being framed in tighter shots, we now see him in wider shots and interacting with people. And this lets us breathe together with him. Like, finally, this lonely, sad, boring guy is finally able to live free and breathe and finally be the adventurer that he always wanted to be. Overall, I highly recommend all you daydreamers out there to watch this movie. Aside from the cinematography and the mise-en-scène, this is a movie that teaches oneself that it's never too late to live your life. So what are you waiting for? Go pull a Walter, jump into an ocean of a helicopter, longboard on a long winding road, hike the cold snowy mountains. And to quote the movie, to see the world, things dangerous to come to see behind walls, draw closer, to find each other and to feel. That is the purpose of life.